Hey, this is Anonymous T. Welcome to my backup channel, Anonymous T Podcast. Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe to both channels, just in the event something happens to my main channel, but we are doing consistent content back here as well. Nonetheless, I wanted to quickly do this video prior to tonight's big NCAA women's basketball game between Iowa and LSU, because it's something I wanted to talk about a week or so ago when it happened, but nonetheless, there's been a lot of chaos taking place in all aspects of the entertainment industry, reality TV, just everything, right? But let's get to it. So, Ice Cube, who some of you guys may not know, he owns a Big Three league, which is basically for former retired NBA players. They form a team of three. They play 3-on-3 basketball. There are some former WNBA players who are head coaches, such as Lisa Leslie, and all of the things. And so basically they have this tournament that takes place in the summer, and then at the end of that tournament or what have you, I think it's in Las Vegas, I want to say, they crown a champion and all the things. So there hasn't been, up until this point though, any female players on these Big Three teams. It's been all male NBA players, right? Former NBA players. So Ice Cube, it leaked that originally Caitlyn was going to be offered I think $2.5 million, salary to play in the Big Three by an advertising company, and then the Big Three basically was going to match it for another $2.5 million, which would take it overall a $5 million offer for Caitlyn Clark to play, right? And so, it caused some controversy, because those of you who do not know, so Caitlyn Clark originally plans to, at least from what we know, enter the WNBA, right? And the largest salary the WNBA plays is, I believe, $234,000, which to me is completely and utterly ridiculous. But nonetheless, that is why several WNBA players go overseas, because you can make $1 million or more. Diana Taurasi did it, and of course we know Brittany Griner was just over there. But as we know, in Russia, that turned into a completely different situation overall altogether, right? So I don't think any WNBA players are going to Russia anytime soon, right? But nonetheless, there is a WNBA player who called out Ice Cube that we got to talk about. So Lexi Brown, who plays for the WNBA, and her salary, you guys, is $80,000 a year. That is correct. Some of you make more than these WNBA players, you guys. Make it make sense. So Lexi Brown said the following in a tweet. She said, "So no other women's basketball player has come to mind in the last 7 years," right? Because again, who is the audience primarily in the WNBA? What are the demographics primarily in the WNBA? And how many times has the WNBA exposed, and really this has been since the pandemic when they had the bubble league, the difference in living conditions, the difference in hotels that they stay at, the difference in food, and just everything. It is very dire. And a lot of the accommodations and things that was exposed. And, they have been fighting for years to try to get equal rights and all these things, and try to get a larger salary, with the WNBA, and it has just fallen on deaf ears, right? But I see the setup that is taking place for Caitlyn Clark, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, why did Ice Cube offer this to Caitlyn Clark and not to any black WNBA player who has been dynamic over these past 7 years, right? And I waited on purpose before doing this video, because I wanted to see if any current or past WNBA players was going to come out and say Ice Cube offered them something and they turned it down. And it was a no. So, I have not seen this much excitement for a white player. Really, even though I technically wasn't born yet, but I was little towards the end of his career, since Larry Bird, I have not seen this level of excitement for a white player. Now, some of you are going to be like, well, Anonymous T, isn't there a bunch of, international players right now that are in the NBA or whatever? Yeah, but this demographic does not technically count them, so to speak. We have, the Joker, we have Luka Doncic, we had Dirk Nowitzki, and all those things, but they don't consider them their own because they weren't born in America, right? They're not technically American, right? Whereas, with Larry Bird is homegrown, with Caitlyn Clark, she's homegrown, she's from Iowa, and from a business standpoint, right? From a business standpoint, I understand why Ice Cube is latching onto this. They see the potential of the millions that Caitlyn Clark is going to bring in revenue, right? Because there's so much buzz about her right now, and she has broken all the records, that exist, and so she's the talk of the town, and she draws an audience, right? I think even back in February, I think people it was over 6 blocks or so that people were hoping for the opportunity to see Caitlyn Clark play. So from a business standpoint, I understand what Ice Cube is doing, right? But from a standpoint of the number of black female WNBA players who have to go through all this struggle, even with Angel Reese, who she's going to be playing up against tonight, she's not even getting the same amount of money in NIL deals, right? So Caitlyn Clark currently, I believe she makes $3.5 million in NIL deals already with Nike, I want to say Under Armour, and there's a third company as well. Angel Reese makes, I believe, $2 million. Either 2 or 2.5 million. But nonetheless, it's at least $1 million less than what Caitlyn Clark makes. So that tells you right there that there's already a disparity, and they intend to keep it already a disparity, regardless, right? So, I would hope with Caitlyn Clark, and this sucks that I have to say this, right? And it sucks that this has to even come to this point, that I'm hoping that this brings positive change for the WNBA in that they may finally address the, pay issue. But it sucks because the WNBA has been around for how many decades now? And it has to take, a Caitlyn Clark for you guys to really look at the pay situation of the WNBA, to really assess different things in the WNBA, because you have set it up for Caitlyn Clark, at least as of now, to be the face of the future before she's even played one WNBA game. Just because you are excellent in college doesn't always mean that it's going to translate once you get to the pros, right? So I want to put that caveat out there, right? Because there have been some overhyped college players, or some college players who did the thing, right? Who dominated in college and were nowhere to be found once they either went to the NBA or WNBA, right? So with that, there's all this pressure, there is all this money that is being thrown at Caitlyn Clark that she didn't even know about. She said that there's a whole different team that addresses her deals, her money, and all that. So she didn't even know about Ice Cube's offer because she's been focused in on, basketball, right? She's been focused in on doing her job, right? And so then they just let her know on the back end, hey, you're about to, embark on this deal or whatever, yay or nay. Right? That's kind of how it sounds like it's going for her. But nonetheless, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this as to why it had to take a white female basketball player for more eyeballs to pay attention, number one, to this NCAA women's tournament, and as well, potentially, the future of the WNBA, and whether or not this is going to impact the future WNBA salaries. Now, what is going to be interesting is if Ice Cube starts, if WNBA players start to accept this Big 3 league offer, or if Ice Cube decides to create a female Big 3 version of this and utilize the basketballs that the WNBA players play, which is different from the NBA players, right? So that could be a game changer if Ice Cube decides to do a women's league, a women's big three, which I think would be appropriate, right? Or even if WNBA players even decide to mix in with the existing former NBA players, which is not something uncommon because they've done it before on Shooting Stars every year at the All-Star game, right? They've always incorporated the WNBA and NBA in those types of events. So either or, if Ice Cube is able to make that happen, and able to sway some WNBA players who don't have to go overseas to make over $1 million, who do not have to rely on their endorsements or trying to market themselves to get endorsements to make more than their $234,000 salary. And that's only for your top players, right? If Ice Cube can successfully recruit different WNBA players who may even be active right now. And in the case of Caitlyn Clark, this is before she even played one WNBA game, right? So this isn't the same set of rules as the NBA players because the NBA players already make a fortune, right? So nonetheless, this could really put the WNBA on notice, and this could really negatively impact the WNBA if they do not get their money up and pay these women what they deserve. So there is that. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.